Here is something unexpected. Some Republican lawmakers are considering not a tax cut for the rich, but a tax hike. The debate has emerged as they look for ways to pay for their massive budget bill. This, as a few Republicans are willing to hold, just a few of them are still willing to hold town halls where they are facing angry crowds who are fired up over Trump's policies and possible cuts to Social Security safety net programs. So the question is, are Republicans starting to feel the real pressure? The nightcap is still here. Dan, is this a sign that Republicans realize adding $7 trillion to the debt might be a bad idea?
Yeah, I mean, we can go back. We know that there's a wing of the Republican Party that are deficit hawks, right? If you can't figure out a way to pay for some of this stuff, they used to kind of hold their ground a little bit. I actually think this is kind of posturing. I think it's kind of like appealing to like this, populist sort of base, saying we're just not here for the donor class like we were the first time around. We're going to try to
or that we have
out.
Been for the last 87 days.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when they're talking about tax cuts of $4.5 trillion over 10 years, I mean, what they did in 17 looks like a rounding error, right? That was $1.5 trillion over the next, 4 years or something like that. I think what's really important to remember is that when the corporates got their tax cut, right, when it went down from 35 to 21%, what did these companies do? They used that $1.5 trillion or whatever. They bought their stock back, right? And that goes back to some of the things that we're talking about. That was giving a tailwind to the stock market. It probably helped, the economy a bit too, because these companies were also deploying more capital. So when you think about putting a millionaire tax on there, I think it sounds good. I think if you're talking to this, base that helped you get elected, I think that makes sense. I'm just not certain that's going to happen.
Okay, another sign that Republicans are feeling the heat. We have now seen 12 House Republicans in competitive districts say they will not support the budget if it includes cuts to Medicaid benefits. Great. But if they don't, how are they going to pay for this thing?
Yeah, well, that's the question. That's the basic budgeting question. Like, where do you find the cost savings that President Trump has said he wants, that Elon Musk says he's looking for or finding to offset the tax cuts that they're talking about and to offset what they want to do otherwise with a budget? I don't have the answer.
Where's this going?
First of all, we do have the answer. The only way you can cut that number is if you dig into Medicaid. I mean, that's the only way the math works,
but
right?
In fairness, the president has said he's not going to go after Social Security. He's not going to go after Medicaid.
Great. So, again, the math doesn't math. I think we all get the joke at this point, or should, that Republicans really only apparently give a damn about the deficit when Democrats are in the White House. I actually think it's something that you should pay attention to deficit and debt, because it undermines the United States in the long run. I'd love seeing a Nixon in China if the Republicans actually were to raise the top rate. I don't think the top rate should be 400,000, by the way. But if you do it over $1 million or something dramatic, frankly, that could pass and probably get a high degree of bipartisan support. Don't believe for a second they're going to do it. What we really should be focusing on is more, how to rebuild the middle class in this country. And instead, they're going to gut a lot of programs that help folks in the middle class or people trying to get to the middle class.
I want to share a bit of sound from some of these town halls this week, because, again, I will give these Republicans credit for holding them, because there hasn't been much upside for them. Watch this.
All right. Thank you.
Do you support federal agents detaining students who are here legally?
I don't know that.
Not here to do these other things. You would not be allowed in.
They're willing to let him do it, whatever he wants, as POTUS. But some of the things he's doing are illegal.
Yes. Do you think this pressure is starting to work?
I think in terms of what people will say and what you're going to hear, yes. But when it comes down to actual voting, no, I don't. I think that we've seen outrage before from voters within that party, and they have gone and done the same thing over and over again. So I'm not necessarily wowed by the vitriol and the anger that I'm seeing from some of these town halls. Where I am sort of wondering is, in this moment, the golden opportunity that exists on the other side of the aisle, are Democrats going to be able to capitalize on it? If they fumble the bag again, can you be trusted to move forward? I mean, you are being given a golden gift with this administration as you look toward 2026. And all of that is capitalized by messaging and going out to those same districts and talking to those same voters and trying to see if, in fact, it is as effective as we think it might be.
Okay, but isn't one of the problems, right? We're all saying, well, what are Democrats going to do? Isn't one of the problems, these problems that we are trying to solve, that Donald Trump promised to solve, really, really hard? So while we say, well, Democrats should just offer a different solution, it's not like there's an elegant solution that's going to solve these issues.
No, but Democrats need to have bolder principles and policies, and they need to actually not be in a position of trying to simply defend and protect the status quo. That was one of the big problems in the last election. Democrats actually got to put forward clear principles and said, here's how we actually want to strengthen American democracy for the 21st century, how we actually can rebuild the middle class. The whole abundance conversation is helpful, in part because it said, if you want to get stuff built, and we need to get stuff built, you got to cut back some regulations. You got to streamline some regulations. Yeah. Get tough, get strong, get clear, and don't be in a position of simply defending the status quo, because that will fail.
You should think about running for office.
Something. Yeah, but to do all that stuff, John, you need a standard bearer. You need some proper spokespeople for whatever that is that you coalesce around. And so, we were talking about this, I think, all of last year. Who is talking about the economy, Biden's economy, that was actually pretty good, and they weren't able to kind of articulate that in a way where people were worried about all these things or worried about inflation. So, these folks that are holding these town halls right now, there's not a lot of people at these things, right? And it seems like half of them are there to yell and scream at these folks. And if there was ever one senator who did not need to do it, it was the 91-year-old Grassley.
Chuck Grassley. That's why your mom was ready for doing it.
But there's one guy. But the one thing I'll say is these are going to kind of go away, these town hall meetings, if the economy slows, if unemployment goes high, higher, and if inflation stays here or goes higher, there's going to be no more town halls for Republicans.
Also, apropos Democrats, look at the crowds that Bernie Sanders and AOC are getting. I mean, just having somebody out there speaking to the people who are really disaffected and really upset is drawing a lot of attention.